recorded live.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be, across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 563. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today, I have my alternate co-host, Corey Romero. Today's Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. Corey, how you doing today?
Eric, I'm doing well, and how are you?
I'm doing good. It's beautiful, sunny weather here. It's been chilly. It's not chilly, but like in the 70s. So, heat wave has skipped us by and probably heading down through the central western states and then heading east. But we're happy in the nice weather space here. On the show today, we're going to be talking to Christopher Dooks. Chris works as a senior consultant for NEMA, N-E-M-E-A, out of the UK. So, Chris, welcome to the show. Good to see you from the UK.
Thank you very much, Eric, and thank you for having me. How are you doing?
Doing great. So we're going to be talking about HCX 4.0 and data migration into the cloud. So Chris has a great blog. His blog is Christopher Dooks, Chris Dooks, CHRISDOOKS.com. And he's got a great blog that's been trending on HCX 4.0. What's new? So we've got Chris here. We're going to get to him. But Corey, before we do Chris, I know that we've got some VMworld dates coming up. Let's see, we have October 5th through 7th is VMworld, but on July 20th, content calendar opens up, right? Yes, excited about that. Can't wait to see all of the sessions, especially the vExpert sessions. And Christopher, yeah, you're a vExpert as well. Didn't mention that, but I'll give you a shout out for that. Love the shirt, and glad to have you on the show. Very cool. So we've got sessions coming up. I know that Alistair Cooks has from vBrownBag has some number of sessions, maybe 20 plus sessions in content calendar. I know that Kripa from VMware Code has another 30 community sessions on code topics, automation, PowerShell, a little Kubernetes automation, everything automation. So we should have maybe 50 or 60 community sessions in Schedule Builder. And I know that Alistair from vBrownBag is still taking session ideas. He's holding back maybe 15 or 20 slots for other late entries to come in, so that you still have a shot at getting a session. He's doing 15 to 20 minute sessions throughout the 2-day event, so look for that. And I believe he'll record them, and then we play the recording, and then you come into chat, and you'll be on chat. We're also rolling out Slack, so some of that's all happening. So you still have a chance to work with vBrownBag to get in sessions. I think that the code sessions are all taken up now, so we'll have those in content calendar, which all goes live on the 20th. So stay tuned. We're excited about that. And then Corey, I know that we're reaching out to the experts to do some promotion on some of the key sessions that are going to be happening.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're going to be reaching out to vExperts, and so we're going to be asking for a blog post on why your session's important, right? Like not just what your session's about, but what your session's about, as well as how does this help customers? How does this help fellow employees, the community? How does it help just people over in general? So look for my email. So once we start getting more information about sessions, I will email that out asking for that. And what we want to do is we want to promote your sessions, right? I would say we want to fill them up, but since we're, this is all online, we really can't fill up, but hey, we want to pack as many people we can into your sessions. And Eric, also for the vBrownBag sessions, are we going to be able to get that into Schedule Builder?
Yes, the vBrownBag sessions are all in Schedule Builder this year, unlike last year. So
yeah,
that's
good to hear.
Actually, a good thing.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Okay, let me check. The talks you guys are saying they're not hearing audio as well as they should. So I'm checking my audio device. Give me a second here. If I do that, they're not going to hear. Not sure why. I can't really do anything about that.
Eric, you're sounding good on my end.
All right. Well, there you go. Good. Okay, Graham, thank you, Tony, for that. Just always want to see if I can continue to do good audio. So yeah, lots of stuff in Schedule Builder coming out. All the sessions are in Schedule Builder. All of them are quasi live. The code sessions are all live. The VMTN V Brown Bag sessions are live with the people in chat, and they're going to record their sessions. So, and we're running them in Europe and US time zone and not really in APJ. So understand that they're really 2 time zones, but the APJ people sometimes can come in and get a lot of the sessions early in the morning from the US venue. So that's how we're handling that. So, busy times for all of us. I think that's all I've got for the news. So let's get on with the show and let's talk about Chris. And Chris, we always start with tell us a little bit about yourself, your blogging, what's your career arc look like? You know, how did you get your start, and where are you in the land of the V community VMware ecosystem?
Hi. So career-wise, I started off in the British Army as a engineer working on HF and VHF and satellite radios essentially, and then I think the Army pretty much realised after a certain amount of time that things need to go over IP. So a system called Bowman came out, which is radio over IP, and everyone got pushed into becoming sort of, you know, what they call information system engineers, which is sort of, you know, just typical IT engineers looking after networks and computers. And always had an interest in computing and building computers when I was in school and from a young age. So when I got pushed into that to do it as a job, it worked out really well for me. Did that for another sort of 7 or 8 years, and then decided that, you know, the Army was no longer for me, and started doing some sort of second line, third line IT support help desk. I did that, moving into architectural work, and then eventually I took a job for an insurance company quite close to me in Gloucester, and they were upgrading from vSphere 6 to vSphere 6.5, and they gave me that project. They said, "Hey, Chris, go away, look into everything. You know, the storage, all of the hardware. Is it compatible? Come out with a plan for upgrading." And during the upgrade, it went a bit wrong, and we had to engage VMware support. And I'd been working with VMware products for quite a while, but I really liked the community from, you know, looking around on the technology forums for answers, and I liked the way that support engaged with us. And that's when I really started discovering, you know, some really great blogs by William Lamb, as everyone knows, and some other ones. And I thought, you know, this particular issue that we had was unheard of within VMware support, and we worked together through it and found a solution. So I thought, I need to share this knowledge with everyone else, because I've discovered so much from other blogs. So, and I've now learned something new, and I will share that. And then that drove me to becoming a V expert, and then eventually through that and people that I'd met, drove me to actually joining VMware as a permanent consultant. So that's where I am now. Been with the company almost 2 years. I've loved every minute of it. It's been a great journey, and I continue to push myself to new levels and share information with the community, because it's really, you know, the community that got me where I am today.
Yeah, that's a very, very traditional narrative, right? I sometimes cringe a little bit, going like, yeah, we get people involved in all the community, we get people involved, that they're great customers, and then, you know, next thing you know, we're just hiring you, right? You know, like, and rope, you know, like, and it's almost like every big blogger that we've ever brought in, it's like, you know, that's a lot of the times the case, which is exciting, because, you know, we all like to be a strong company and have great talent from the field and work at customer sites, and so that's great. I don't know a way to get people to go back to customers after they come in, right? Because just a great place to work, and that's also fun just to be able to say you build machines or virtual machines. It's just a lot of geeky ecosystem stuff to be able to do this. So that's a great career arc. So thanks for sharing that with us. Nice to hear it. You've been blogging. How long have you been blogging? I think I went to your blog, and you said you have quite a number of blog articles out there.
I think it was probably about 2018 I started. So coming up 3 years now.
Very nice. Very nice. Right. And inside of VMware, I mean, you're talking about HCX. So your role inside of VMware is tech marketing. What are you doing inside of VMware? And then how did you get on writing an HCX blog?
So I'm what we call a senior consultant. So I'm a field worker. I work directly with customers as a delivery and architectural sort of position. So the customer will come to VMware and say, hey, we've got these current technologies and we want to do X, Y, and Z. And once the sales guys have gone in and, you know, proposed everything, together with others, we go in and build it, design it, build it, and then deliver it and hand it over to the customer as you know, hopefully a successful project.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. And trust me, I have lived out. I was a VP of operations for a $100 million company, and you think that's big, but it's actually pretty small. We only have like a couple people running IT, right? And so when we do have these big projects, we're not doing them inside. We're looking for people that can help us, right? And to actually do it, and either partner with somebody or get experts in that can help us do it, plan it out, and then execute to it, right? And then, you know, we'll work it into our budget. So a very common model.
Yeah, that's right. Because, you know, everyone has their day job. So you can't just go around the current second, third line and architects and say, right, okay, I know you've got your day job and you're very busy, but we also want you to plan and execute this upgrade project, or, you know, we're going to move to the cloud. So that's where I come in, because there simply isn't the manpower or sometimes the time or expertise. So we come in and we help customers through that move and the transition to whatever it is that they're looking for.
Okay, so cool. I think most of our listeners understand all this, so we won't spend a lot of time there. But it was nice to see that summary. HCX, let's do a little elevator pitch on HCX. So people that are listening that haven't played with HCX yet and had to migrate workloads into cloud environments, why don't you give us a little bit of elevator pitch of HCX, the history of it, and where we're at when we came up to 4.0. Then we'll dive into 4.0.
Yeah, so you have a customer and they have some, you know, aging hardware. It's 5 years old. They want to buy some new kit, and it's on some really old software versions, and they want to upgrade it because of, you know, the new features and security. But you can't just go out and buy a load of new kit and then put it into a data center. Or, you know, if you're migrating to the cloud, such as VMware Cloud on Amazon Web Services, you can't copy all of your data onto a hard drive and then drive to an Amazon data center and say, hey guys, can I just plug this into your kit and you know, move my workloads? So traditionally, migration has been difficult within VMware because we have to have linked SSO domains. And in the past, we've often relied on flings or third-party tools to essentially lift and shift our infrastructure, our workloads, and our applications from what they're currently hosted on to where we want them to be hosted. So that's where HCX steps in, because it allows us to perform that workload mobility, and it removes a lot of the constraints around typical migration projects where, like I said, we have to have be a member of the same SSO domain, and HCX removes all of that, and it can partially automate the migration as well. It's a really great tool. And one of the most common things that our customers use HCX for is the simple 3 or 4 click stretching of layer 2 networks, because, you know, applications are coded in a certain way, and to change their IP addresses to move on to a new network is not often easy. We have to get developers involved for the application to recode it. That involves application lifecycle, it involves testing, and it involves change. Whereas HCX, we can simply go, okay, you know, your subnet on 192.168.0.1, 0.0, we're just going to stretch that to VMware Cloud or VMware Cloud Foundation or Oracle Cloud or Azure Cloud, whatever target environment you're going to, we're going to stretch that network over there. With a couple of clicks of a button. There's no need for any kind of complex network architecture or engineering. It's all done for you within the application. And then once we've moved our workloads over, we're going to simply unstretch it and that network's going to become a routable network in our new target infrastructure. HCX also has some other pretty cool features. We can do disaster recovery, and with certain limits, we can migrate physical workloads into virtual workloads as well.
So let me unpack just to make sure I've been reading about it, right? I want to make sure I understand that before we get too far down, which is one, multi-cloud, right? So you do work with Oracle, Azure, and AWS, right? Not just ours.
Yeah.
And then two, you're extending the network. Does that require me to have, vSphere that's set up over there, or NSX set up over there, or is it basically working with the cloud vendors and just doing the right networking on both ends to connect my data center over to my cloud instance? Or is that a VMC and AWS type of integration?
It's vSphere only. So we, in a typical source and cloud environment, you must have vSphere at source and you must have vSphere at destination. And there's a couple of requirements in terms of the software levels, most particularly at the destination. We have to have NSXT, or it can work with NSXV as well, but that's being deprecated. So we recommend NSXT at the destination.
Right. So then if we go back to Amazon and or not Amazon, Oracle and Azure. So Oracle and Azure both give you the capacity to run vSphere, obviously, and NSXT in their environments, so that this then, if we connect these, this will then start doing that work.
Yeah, that's right. As long as our VMware vSphere environment will run on the cloud, we can install and leverage HCX.
Right, and I think Azure and Oracle both commit to that support. So therefore, that's how that works.
Yeah, that's right, and it's on IBM Cloud as well, I believe, and we've got the EMC version as well. So there's a couple of different flavors out there, but from the HCX perspective, it's much of a muchness. The architecture and the design and the way that we use it is much of the same, regardless of the environment in which it's living on.
How do ones go about acquiring HCX? Is HCX part of an enterprise license, or what is the way customers then get HCX to start working with this? So
it comes for free with VMware Cloud. You gain HCX Advanced. There's two different licensing levels. There's Advanced, which is the basic one, and then there's Enterprise, which opens up new features such as replication assisted vMotion. We also gain, sorry, mine's gone blank. A couple of other features with Enterprise, such as mobility groups. That's the word I was looking for. So with VMware Cloud on AWS, we get Advanced with a couple of enterprise features thrown in. But ordinarily, if we were looking at Azure VMware solution, then we'd just be looking at the Advanced option, and you gain Advanced when you have NSXT Enterprise Plus. You can then license HCX as long as that Enterprise Plus license covers every socket on the target system that you're going to. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Got all that. Thank you for that explanation. So for people listening, now you understand how that layers on and how to actually get it. And if you have the cloud package, you probably already have it, right? So you could go play with it. So I would assume that most people that are setting this up is probably doing, you're migrating a workload into cloud environments. It's not bi-directional, right? This tool is really used to kind of lift and shift a workload into the cloud environment, and then once it's there, then you turn it off, and it's your workload is there. That's what I think you described. There's no bringing workloads back, or there's not like a kind of a load balancer or any kind of mechanism in here that allows me to decide when I want to pull things back bi-directional, or is it primarily a tool to do the move to the cloud? So yeah, you're correct. There's no load balancer as such, but we can move forwards, and what's known as within HCX known as a reverse migration, where we effectively move the workloads back. So one of the most common types of migration that HCX offers that we use in the field is it's bulk migration, and under the skin, it does a vSphere replication of a workload to the cloud, and then at the cutover point, it will shut down the source VM, do a cold sync of the data, and then power on to target VM. What it also does to the VM at source, it disconnects the network, and then it will Unix timestamp it with a time date that that workload was migrated. So, you know, here we are at a customer, and we have a really important application. We've just spent months planning this, and we've done all of the, you know, new gateway and firewall rules for this application. We've shifted it into the cloud, switched it on, it doesn't work. We do our 30 minutes, hour of testing. We can't get it to work. So all we simply do is we just power it off and then power on the source VMs, which is a really cool feature with bulk migration. But because it's a cold migration method, there is downtime involved with the application. But HCX, it's designed to live in a hybrid environment. So that's where the name comes from. It's hybrid cloud extension. We can have workloads living both in the customer's data center and also in a cloud data center as well at the same time. And we can move backwards and forwards. We can create protection groups to protect our workloads. It's not a tool that we install, move everything, and then uninstall. We can keep it as long as we want, because not all customers want all of their workloads in the cloud, right?
I was going to ask you that, like, from a design pattern practice of migrating, I would assume that customers look at a segment, a small section of their applications, and then go through, use HCX to migrate that, get success at that, and then determine where else in the enterprise they want to do that activity. And then that might be a year activity across multiple workloads or multiple business units or divisions, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a big job to move all of your workloads. It's a very big job, and typically we spend months, and like you said, sometimes it can be over a year of planning and executing and testing the move. Some of our customers are, we could be working with a credit card company, and one of the applications we move is to do with the authorization of payments. So that's a really, really important application. We can't afford any mistakes or any downtime. So we have to make sure that it's all planned and executed as best as we can, right?
All right, so that's we're now on version 4.0, right? So I guess we could just dive in a little bit, which is part of your blog, just taking people through some of the new features in 4.0. And you start with some numbering, so maybe you want to take us through what the numbering of that meant when you wrote it up in your blog.
Yeah, so version 3 of HCX, it was known as an R release. So R100 up to R147, which is the latest one on version 3.5. These R releases, the business unit would release these with, they were extremely aggressive with the releases. So you could install one version, and then 4 to 6 weeks later, a new one would come out. And that's a very, very aggressive timeline for applications. And to make matters worse is we VMware, we said, we'll only support you going back 3 versions. So 3 months into your project, you're having to upgrade. And that simply was not acceptable to some customers, because when we use HCX to do a layer 2 extension and we upgrade the appliances, we lose the network for a couple of minutes. And like I said, financial company or any other business where they're reliant on the network being up, it simply wasn't acceptable. But we as VMware, we were saying to customers, you must upgrade this because it's going to be out of support. So version 4 has come along. In the code, it's known as version 148, but we call it version 4.0. And that brings the HCX product under a similar version SKU as all of the rest of our products that we offer. So typically we'd install version 4.0 and we will support that for a year. And it means that we don't have to adhere to those really aggressive releases of new versions. And now as well, the versions, they're not being released anywhere near as aggressively because a lot of the early issues with the product have now been ironed out. It's really mature now, so the release cycle is far less aggressive. So we can install, I'm working with a customer now, we've installed version 4.0, and it's one of the later releases, 4.0.2, and we've decided as a project we're going to stay on that version for as long as possible because we want to avoid the issues that come along with the upgrade, right?
Right. That makes sense. So that's a really a good fix to that problem, which is now you got 4.0. You're good for a year. That's enough time that you should be able to plan out and execute your migrations over the course of a year, and you're not worried. Even though they are doing our releases along the journey, you still have support for a year on the base number, right?
Yeah, that's right. So our releases were dropped with version 4. So we now have version 4, 4.01, 4.02, and 4.1 was released a couple of weeks ago. They've gone, the BU have gone away from the R notation of the release. It's just a version number. So when I'm working with a customer, I will say, right, we are now on version 4.1, and we will keep that for the duration of the project. And the only reason why we should upgrade is, one, it comes out of support. We've had that for a year. 2, a really cool new feature has come out, and that would really help us with our mobility. Or 3, there was a critical security issue that's been fixed that we really ought to, be patching straight away.
Right. That's great. And I have to smile a little bit because people whine about dot releases, right? But really they do work. They're a really great way to get your head around where we're at. So if you have 4.1 and then they come out with 4.2 or 4.1.1, we all understand from a software perspective what that means, right? So the cloud era where we're, releasing cloud software, this has kind of bent this a little bit, right? I'm glad we're seeing some of this straighten itself out, right? Because getting your head around what version you're on and how many cycles you get of cloud software is driving me nuts on a lot of the platforms I use, right? So that's nice to see. All right, so the numbering system, that sounds great that we got that, and then you touched on one of the other features that you mentioned, which is time off. I was reading your blog, so if you want to touch on that one, or we can touch on other 4.0 feature sets, but I know there was an improvement in downtime when you're doing the migration.
Yeah, so previous to version 4, so say we're on R146 and then R147 comes along in version 3. The way that we upgrade is that we do the cloud side first and then the source side managers. The managers to the HCX appliances is what vCenter is to ESXi hosts, right? So we first upgrade the management component. They have no part in the data plane of traffic within HCX. That's all done by the interconnect appliance, the network extension appliance, the Sentinel gateway, and if applicable, the WAN optimizer as well. So first we upgrade the managers, and then we upgrade the interconnect appliances. They do the shifting of data. So when we're moving workloads, it's the interconnects that do the work. If there's no migrations going on, we can upgrade those without a problem, because if we're not migrating, they're not doing any work. Now, the network extension appliances, they can extend 8 networks each with NSXT. And if we have to upgrade one of those, we could have potentially 8 layer 2 stretch networks from source to destination. And they would see some downtime, and that could be on the older version 3, it could be 90 seconds, 120 seconds, which means for the majority of businesses, they would have to schedule an outage for that upgrade. Now, if they're having to do that every 6 weeks, it's going to be quite annoying. So what we've brought out with version 4 is we deploy a new network extension appliance while the old one is still working, and then it will take over the data paths. So we lose typically between 1 and 3 seconds of traffic flow when we do an upgrade, which is an acceptable amount, and we can, depending on how cautious the customer is, do that outside of an outage window, because network packets are dropped all over the place in day-to-day networking, So doing it on a layer 2 stretch that's going to last a second or so is not a huge hindrance. And it means that we can, apply these updates as and when they come out. In a future release of HCX, we're going to have, hopefully, I don't know where the BU are with this, but one of the most sought after features is high availability for the network extension appliances. So when that comes, it means that we can, do an upgrade without having to worry about an outage.
Any outage, right? Even a few seconds.
Yeah, I mean, you vMotion a VM from host 1 to host 2, it gets stunned very temporarily, and it's quite common to see one ping drop. We've been living with that since, for as long as I remember, and it's going to be similar on HCX, so it's definitely something that we can live with.
Cool. Going back to your blog for a second, which is chrisdooks.com, CHRISDOOKS. The article's the main article on your site, HCX 4.0. So you should be able to find it there on his blog. You have some nice images of menus. Thought that was a really nice way, and I think there's one of them here that is an improvement in that visibility of what you can actually see happening while it's happening. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sorry, I'm smoking a little bit. Back in version 3, we could roughly work out how long a migration is going to take, because professional services will go in there with a customer, will deploy HCX, and we'll do some dummy migrations. 1, to prove the product does its job, and 2, so we can time it and we can kind of work out the data throughput. Not everyone has 10 gigabit per second low latency networking available. Some customers may only have 50 megabit per second. So it's important to work out how long roughly a workload is going to take to migrate. Now in version 3, the number that HCX used to tell you that it was 20% of the way through or 50% didn't really mean that much. It's only really when you start digging around in the host's log files you can work out what's going on. So with version 4, it's brought out an estimate of the time remaining, and it also shows you the particular events that it's gone through. So step 1, we're going to get a vMotion lock. Step 2, we're going to configure the mobility agent, which is the IX appliance. It's a fake host. And step 3, we're going to start moving the data. HCX actually tells you all of these steps now. They're not buried away in the appliance logs. And then if any one of those steps fails, that will go red within the HCX manager. So in the field and troubleshooting, when something goes wrong, it makes it an awful lot more easier to work out where the issue is, and it gives you a best guess as to how long the migration is going to take as well, which is a really, really cool feature.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and you have plus 1 minute. It gives you kind of a timeline, plus 2 minutes, and then you can actually just see how long it's chunking through things that are green, things like that. So pretty nice little tool there for watching your migration happen.
Yeah, for sure. And before version 4, you had none of that. The only way to work out what was going on is you'd have to find the source VM in the inventory and look at the tasks and events to work out what's going on, and then maybe have a look in the ESX task and events, or look at the HCX application logs, which when you're in the middle of a migration, it's a lot of screens and a lot of command line work to go through and work out. So to have it shown to you within the manager interface is a really, really useful addition.
So you've been through a couple of these migrations with customers, I assume, right? Because it's kind of part of your practice.
Yeah.
What's the feeling? What are customers when they go through it? Are they like, "Oh my, that was super hard. We're so happy this is done." Like, how has this been rolling out from a customer perspective? How sick should I feel when I'm thinking about doing this? Let's say I haven't, next year, one of my goals is to start migrating workloads to different clouds. How comfortable are customers getting with this? How painful has it been? Is it getting less painful? Is everybody relieved when it's done? Are they giving themselves high fives looking at their cloud bill? What kind of color can you give us around this process?
So it's getting greener, that's for sure. In the early days of the early R1.3 versions, sort of a couple of years ago, it was it worked, but we'd have a lot of failures, and then sometimes trying to fault find on this product was quite difficult. As the product's matured and we've had newer releases, thankfully most of those issues are now gone, and we can use it as intended without having to fault find a lot. I'm working with a customer at the moment, and Saturday just gone, we migrated 101 VMs, some of them really large in the 4 or 5 terabyte region, and one had an error out of the 101, which is a really good failure rate. Now, that one that had an error, if we were on version 4.1, we could have just remigrated it, because it does checkpoint seeds, it works out where it was, but unfortunately we didn't have that option, so we had to kick off the migration again, and that was over 3 terabytes, and even on really low latency links, it still takes a long time to go. But yeah, customers really like the product.
The checkpointing really does make a difference when it's a Saturday and you started Saturday at 8 a.m. and something goes wrong at midday, and you have to restart on a 3.0 version. You're waiting another 6 hours before you're going to get through it again, because you weren't able to checkpoint one failure.
Exactly. So, and it's not just me sat there or the vSphere team from the customer. We have project managers involved, application owners, we have network guys, there's the program managers, and we've got 20 people on this call, and it's a Saturday, and this one VM fails, and then it takes a long time to go through again. It is really frustrating, but luckily with 4.1, and we're hopefully going to release upgrade to that release with this customer in the next couple of weeks, so the next migration wave doesn't or can't or won't suffer the same consequences. But yeah, customers really like HCX. At first it seems a little bit daunting to install and configure it, because it's not really like any other product that we offer. You don't just install ESX on bare metal and then right click new VM, but there's a little bit of design considerations that have to go into it. But once it's up and running, and then we demonstrate the product, and especially how easy it is to stretch a broadcast domain or a layer 2 network, the customers really like that, because ordinarily you'd have to have quite a few clever networking sort of people looking into it, whereas we can go in as a vSphere administrator, and without a huge amount of networking knowledge, we can just stretch this network out really easily.
Yeah, my wife used to work at a company called SmartDB, right? So we're a family of administrators. My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, myself, my kid, we've been IT guys for a long time, right? It's almost like a family of IT people. And one of the companies she worked with, SmartDB, which was focused on just doing data migration for databases, right? And everybody understands that when you're migrating, it's not just drag and drop and everything's going to just zip on over. There is a lot of architectural things you have to worry about. And even when you get the tools help, but the tools, it's still a work. It's a project, right? It's not just a drag and drop. It's a project, but then if the tools are good, it just makes the project go that much smoother.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember my first project, I thought to myself, we're just migrating workloads. How hard can this be? And yeah, it's really a lot more difficult than what you think, because typically, if we're talking about something like NSXT and we're showcasing the distributed firewall, we take a 3-tier application and we go, right, okay, so the web box talks to the application box and the application box talks to the database. And it's just these 3 VMs talking to each other all happily. But actually, you need to sit back and think about it a little bit, because these 3 VMs are doing DNS queries. They've got updates. They might have some form of SIEM product, antivirus, that's managed by a policy server, and they need to talk to domain controllers prospectively. They may be sending mail, so they have to talk to an SMTP server of some form. So there's an awful lot of traffic going on, and we have to go in there, look at these boxes, look at what they're talking to, what networks are they on, what networks are they talking to, and then we have to cut that down over a course of, sometimes 1,000, 5,000 virtual machines, and come up with move events. It's an extremely difficult job. Thankfully, there are tools out there that can help us. Network Insight is absolutely brilliant at this. But yeah, it's not as simple of right-click migrate VM, unfortunately.
And it's really data center migration, right? Like it's not just applications; it's the whole data center infrastructure that everything has to go over. And so it's actually amazing. It's like a cruise ship migration, right? Like it's like these big things that you're migrating. But the fact that you can do it at all, it's like saying you're going to take the 100-story building and migrate it to another city, right? Like it's impossible to do. But to some degree, because of this now and the infrastructure that we've got, and tools like this, you actually can migrate a 100-story building to another city, and that actually works, right? And you can actually make that happen.
It's a great enabler of technology and mobility. I remember years and years ago, we had to move a data center from one location to another one 30 miles down the road. And we had to shut down all of these servers, these huge 42U SANs, power everything off, load it all into the back of a truck, and then drive it 15 miles down the road to then unload it. You've got all of the cabling, racking of everything, and then the power on procedure. Whereas now we can just go, right, okay, our data center lease is lapsing in 12 months, and the company that's leasing us this is going to charge us more money. So we're going to move all of our workload into VMware Cloud, because we pay a bunch of money a month, and we get support, and all of that hosting and BTU calculations and power consumption and hardware upgradability and software upgradability is taken out of our hands, and VMware are going to manage that for us. Okay, cool. So we have an internet connection from our data center, or we have an Amazon Direct Connect, and we're just going to leverage that and copy everything over to the new location. And to be able to do that is really, really cool technology, I think.
And it actually makes me sleep better at night too, because there is always this risk that I always worry about of when I get to the new city, that there's going to be some fatal issues that we just didn't know about, right? And that we want to go back, we want to go to a new city, and then how much work is it going to be to go to a new city once we've gone to this city? And like in a real sense, as these tools improve, and you've done it once, you will have the flexibility going to another location that's running vSphere, right? And so you don't really want to think that way, but at least you're not panicked over your city selection either, right? You know that once you've done this, you can probably do it again if you need to, right? Or come back to your own data center if you need to, right? Like there are choices. You're not completely locked into. Now, I know once I go, I don't want to leave, right? But there are always this nagging feeling that keeps me up that we've missed something about the new place we're migrating to, and it's going to be a mess, and I'm going to lose my job, and everybody's, it's all going to my kids are going to starve. So I do like the notion that you have the flexibility to go to other vSphere destinations as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned city, right? So we're going back to the migration I did years and years ago, where we put everything onto a truck and we drove it somewhere. You can't drive a truck from London to Sydney. Well, you probably could, but it'd take a long time, and we'd have to put it on ferries. There's a lot of risk in that. But if we want to migrate our data center from London to Sydney, we can do that. There is no limit geographically in the world where we can move our data center to, as long as it has internet access or a private circuit going to it.
Right. All right. So I know you're not going to have the answer to this, and you're probably going to hate me for answering the question, but I know AWS has these like super washing machine type data packs that allow you to, put your data on it and then ship your data, because you don't want to. And do we get into any of that? Are we able to use some of that functionality to get large data sets from our prem to a cloud provider? And I know that Azure is probably doing it as well. I can't imagine that you're doing that, but it did hit me when we were talking about shipping systems over, that actually Amazon and I think Azure now are building, and Google Cloud are building like data packs that allow you to, like, they're physical devices that you bring in, you put them in. It's kind of like a pod for storage in the US, where they'll bring you a pod to your driveway, you load it up, and then they take it away. Have you seen any of that?
I haven't seen it, no. I know it exists, and I know it's not just limited to the cloud providers. They turn up. It's a data center on a truck, and they plug in a couple of network cables into your data center. You copy the data over, the truck drives to the new location and then offloads it. You know,
Yeah, and in fact, they have super cool, like half of the size of a washing machine kind of packs that are shippable, right? Like they lock the drives down and they're data repositories. And I think that you can use those even as part of this, but you just probably you manually get the data over there, then you have to copy it in or move it onto your systems. I think they have ways to do that. I was just curious if you'd bumped into any.
No, I haven't. But it sounds really cool.
I want to see one.
I'd like to see. I want
to see one. Yeah, I've been on Google. You can go Google the image of them, and they're super cool, right? Look like something out of the Star Trek Enterprise, really. Like in order to do that, right? I'm surprised they don't have dry ice and other things foaming out of these packs. But it is an interesting challenge, right? To migrate and everything you have to do, including large data sets, right? To get on prem, but
huge. Yeah. I mean, I've mentioned Amazon Direct Connect before, and it's a 10 gigabit low latency private circuit between your point of presence to your data center and to an availability zone within AWS. But that 10 gigabit pipe, if you have 500 terabytes of data, it's going to take a long time to copy. Whereas I imagine these data packs probably got the latest PCIe technology with solid state drives, and you can move data a lot faster than what you can over the internet or over a direct connect. So yeah, it sounds pretty cool. I have heard about similar technologies, although I haven't myself worked with it at the moment.
Right. There's what people build and then what we are actually using. So it's neat. I know we've been broadcasting now for 46 minutes. So we're coming of the last 6 or 7 minutes together, Chris, but I've enjoyed talking about it. It's fun. It makes me want to go back into the field and get to do some fun stuff, right? Because in the land of community and marketing, I don't get very much time to do real hardware type things anymore. But what are you planning for the rest of the year? What do you see yourself? We always ask community members, like, what is your goals and objectives for the rest of the year? What excites you about what you're working on going through the rest of 2021? Stay alive. I know that's what everybody says. Coming out of COVID, I just want to maybe.
First of all, I've really, really enjoyed this, and my fiance said to me, "Are you not nervous? You're talking to a lot of people." So, no, it's fine. It's my job. I love it, and I can talk about it all day long as someone out there is willing to listen. But in terms of the coming up over the next 6 months, I've just moved house a couple of weeks ago. On Monday, we're picking up a new puppy, so I think my time is largely outside of work going to be taken up by this little thing that's going to ruin or make joy in my life. So work-wise, there's a couple of projects I'm working on at the moment that are hopefully closing off soon, and I'm going to be using the next couple of months to focus my time and energy on the customers to help them get over the line and see them through to project completion. And then next year, hopefully going to be doing more around blogging and helping out the community. Maybe look into a couple of avenues within VMware surrounding career progression and personal development as well.
Nice. Well, if you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, you made it almost to the end of the show and you want to see what Chris looks like and his nice looking Star Wars poster at the back, you can go to VBarbecue, VBARBECUE. We put that on cameras and we live stream it there. So you can go check that out and see what he looks like and check out his most amazing VMware vExpert shirt that he's wearing. Also, a big deal.
I was going to wear the 2021 one, but it's a little bit smaller and we've had lockdown and yeah, it didn't fit quite as well as this one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, thanks a lot for joining and taking us through it. It's certainly cool. And if you're not a big data center customer, you probably don't get to expose to this. So it's fun to listen to it and see what people are big data center guys are facing as they migrate to the cloud. So I appreciate you coming and explaining that to us. Corey Romero, any last things you wanna mention to Chris? I know you said thanks for being a
Yeah, I was just going to say again, thanks for being a vExpert. I know you've been a vExpert 3 years in a row, and I know you're in the sub-program for VMC on AWS, and I know that was well-deserved. So thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Corey. And it's nice to finally meet you both as well.
Yeah,
virtually.
well, we will meet in person soon.
Yeah, hopefully over a few V beers. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. All right, with that, we'll hit V barbecue because I know that Tony Foster says that he did maybe some barbecue pizza, and Chris will ask you too. So be thinking about this question: what's your favorite barbecue? What do you guys do for barbecue in the UK? But Tony Foster, what's going on with barbecue? It's almost lunchtime here in California, so we always like to wrap it up with a little bit of barbecue talk.
Oh, most definitely. So this week I barbecued a pre-made pizza. I know it sounds cheesy and everything, but just wanted something simple and quick to throw on the grill. Grabbed one out of the freezer, popped it on the grill. About 20 minutes later, I had this awesome smoky flavored pizza. It was absolutely fantastic. So if you're in somewhat of a hurry and want to barbecue, definitely a great way to go.
So you just went and got yourself one of those nice frozen pizzas. I don't remember the DiGiorno or the other ones in the U.S., but globally you just.
It was actually a Tony's pizza, ironically enough.
There you go, and just threw it on the grill. Did it pick up some of the smoky flavor? Did it make the bread crust?
Oh yes.
Wow, there you go.
And you got a nice crispy crust on the bottom. Yes.
I am going to try that. I'm going to try that this afternoon, right? That sounds like a really easy win. Just go pick us up a nice frozen pizza. I like a couple of the versions that are around here. And then I bet they make them blackened and crispy at the same time, which is part of the problem with the frozen pizza is it is lacking a little bit of flavor and crust crispiness. So that might work. I'll have to give that a try.
Yeah, I wonder how a Papa John's pizza would do on that as well. That sounds pretty good. I know with my pizzas, especially with raw dough, right, the raw dough will tend to kind of dip into the barbecue slots. So what I've always done is I put it on a stone and cooked it there and let it just get hard enough at the bottom. Then I take it off, put it back on the grill, and it's been delicious. But when I barbecue pizza, I make homemade pizza as well. The best dough I've ever made is Greek yogurt and flour. That's it. Mixture of that, and it comes out crispy, and it's delicious.
Nice. All right, and finally, last but not least, all the way from the UK, Chris Duker, what is your favorite barbecue?
I really, really like ribs and hot wings.
There you go. Yeah,
but I'm actually going to Texas in October, so I'm looking forward to trying it there, sort of the Texan American way for sure.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Texas ribs, particularly, right? They do good stuff. I don't know if Texas is saucy or whether they're dry rub, but you'll have to let us know. I know that. You can't go wrong with some nice ribs and chicken wings. Do people barbecue in the UK very often? I know it rains a lot, right? It seems like
we get 2 days a year of sunshine, right? So we make the most of it. Yeah.
There you go. Very fun. All right. Well, with that, we're at the pretty much the top of the hour, so we'll end it up. I know we're going to be back again next week. We've got topics going on for the rest of the year, and we're going to start talking about VMworld and the sessions and some of the key sessions that are happening. We're going to bring some of the session owners in and have them talk. And if you're a VExpert, thanks a lot for blogging about some of the sessions. This year's goal is to get people to not only attend VMworld, but actually be there for the sessions. I think last year we had 150,000 people register to come to VMworld, and I think we only had maybe 20 or 30,000 people a day actually come in and watch sessions. Over the course of the 3 or 4 days, we did have maybe like 60 or 70,000 people attend. But this year we're trying to up that. So if we get you to register, we also need to get people back to come in and listen and have some Slack channels, have some dialogue. So we're building some of that. So that's what we're going to be working on with Corey and all of the experts, is how to get people to come in, register, but also then remember to come back and actually attend and engage with us. So that should be fun. Corey, Chris, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.